It might be a little divisive here,
Oh no,
but well,
it's
not
gonna be
really, not
terrible.
really.
No, if you got a
Number
prime state, it's gonna be rough.
number eight is the Pistons, and that
Okay.
might not be that crazy, but they have Asar, but we got to see what we get out of him in his next year. They got Jaden Ivey. I'm not really sure his role with the team when he comes back. I'm gonna be honest. I just didn't see a fit with the Pistons and Jaden Ivey when he was healthy. Truthfully, Ron Holland, he could be decent. I'm not expecting him to have any crazy breakout or anything like that. He could be a serviceable player in the league. I'm just not too high on him. He's someone that people talk about a lot, but I think there's a lot he needs to work on as a player. So, and obviously they got Cade. I mean, all-star player, superstar, if you may. Jalen Duren, young center. He kind of just, he gives me the same vibe that Andre Drummond used to give me. I'm gonna be honest, and it's not that he's the same player, not that he's as empty as Andre Drummond, but I just get that feeling from him as a player, and I can't put my finger on it. Whether it be his defensive ability, which is not bad, he's a decent defender to me. Slightly goes unnoticed that he's not the best. He could improve defensively. Offensively, he's kind of a lob threat. He's not really creating for himself as much yet, but I think that there is some work that he is definitely working on right now as a creator for himself. Although not every center needs to be able to create for themselves, because some just need to play a role. But with the Pistons, all these guys, I don't know. The teams ahead of them, I think there's just a lot more players that have value on a contending team than the Pistons have. Like Jaden Ivey, realistically, what is his role on a contending team? Like, what do y'all think? And I love Jaden Ivey. I loved
Probably
him at Purdue. I loved him in March Madness. What's up?
Matherin.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I think he's like a good six man spark plug off the bench.
I mean, yeah, but like, I think that's not even what the Pistons need. They need, like, they're missing pieces. Like the Pistons, he could play six man for them, but I'm pretty sure he was starting some games for them last year, and I'm not sure if that's working out for the Pistons. I'm sorry, but I don't know. And I feel like he's going to end up getting traded this year. I know he was in trade rumors last season, but I just feel like it's coming because there's just no real role for him on this team, in my opinion. And so we'll have to see what they do with him this season to, really make that opinion solidified.
Great. So Toby, I saw you had a crazy reaction when Ziad said the Pistons. Let's explain that reaction.
I have the Pistons a lot higher, to be honest.
Okay.
I have them at 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Three?
Damn.
I'm not mad at that.
I really like Cade. He's not the playmaker I would like him to be, but I feel like we've seen a lot of good scoring point guards, especially point guards who kind of tend to have their way on offense. We've seen them develop into good playmakers, especially when they have guys they can dump the ball off to. If I think he can come what of a 1-2 tandem with Jalen Duren and him in the paint, then I think that really opens up things. I'm like Ziad said, I don't really see the role for Jaden Ivey, though I like him as a player. I don't see the role for him in Detroit, but I think he can still bring you value. I like Isaiah Stewart on the defensive side of the ball, just as a guy down low, a bruiser. That's a good piece to have. Even as a Thunder fan, when Isaiah Stewart was in trade talks, I was hoping that the Thunder would go after a guy like him before we acquired Hartenstein. So I like some of these guys a lot. I think even seeing them last season and seeing the push they made, not expecting them to be that good, I think there's definitely a lot of room for development. Ron Holland, though Z said that he doesn't really see it from him, I was watching a few summer league games, and I feel like exactly what you expected Ron Holland to go work on after that last rookie year is what it seemed he was working on. The on ball scoring was there. The stretching the floor was there. I saw things from Ron Holland over the summer league, though it's summer league. So I'm not going to get too hyped, but I saw some things from Ron Holland over summer league that I'm like, okay, I like where this is going. I've always been particularly high on him too, so I trust in that. I really do. And Cade is Cade, of course. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like we said even before the playoffs started, I had them surprising everybody and beating the Knicks. And I think
That's true.
I wasn't the only one here or I
No,
don't know.
there's a lot of you guys who
Yeah,
said
Yeah,
that.
there was a lot.
so
I was surprised. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I really won't. I wouldn't be surprised if they made like a second round, maybe conference finals push with the East being so wide open this year. So I think it really just depends on that Cade leap, and yeah, and everything else will probably just fall into place with that. If we can get a Cade playmaking leap, that is by far one of the best young cores in the league, no doubt.
Interesting. Yeah. So I was a bit surprised by where you guys had them. I think even 9 was a bit surprising for me. Because while I think Cade's an amazing player, who elevates the game around him, I don't think the other guys are kind of like they're promising they flash potential, but I don't think they're any guaranteed guys, especially compared to some of the other people who might be behind them for you guys in the rankings. So K2, where do you got the Pistons?
The Pistons. Yeah, so I have them at 7 on mine.
Okay.
Um, Following, obviously the first round exit against the Knicks, on the back of a Cade Cunningham All NBA campaign, first of many, I would assume. Obviously, great player, Cade. We don't really have to get too deep into that to understand, why there's so much faith in the Pistons. Cade is clearly a great player and one of the best guards in the East, clearly. When I look at the core that's around him, though, it's very. I see these things that are very interesting. I mean, in terms of just purely the production that I'm looking at. When I look at a guy like Jaden Ivey, his production, I like his production, but what I'm really noticing from him is I feel like he is going to end up being better. I feel as if he has the potential to become a perennial 20-point per game scorer as kind of the secondary scorer, secondary offensive guy, because this team's defensive identity is fine. I I don't have a problem with this team in terms of defense, but it's clear they're lacking another offensive guy. They need another offensive guy if they want to get to the heights that they could reach as defenders. And then obviously you have Asar Thompson too. He kind of gets in his brother's shadow a little bit when people see his athleticism and his defensive prowess, obvious, two-way upside. He could develop the offensive game a little better. But Asar is, I would say, Asar is almost as good as his brother is. They're pretty comparable defenders. Again, both of them could work on their offense a little bit. And you got guys like Jalen Duren, too. When I look at Jalen Duren, I feel like this should be the goal for a lot of younger centers, so to speak, where like they're not effective from outside the 3-point line. I know that's the big thing nowadays. Your your center needs to be able to shoot, but when you look at Jalen Duren and players similar to Jalen Duren, I feel like this should be kind of the outline for players like him. Great rebounder, great roll man, good connector, rim protector, etc., etc. One of the best scorers at the rim. I don't think anybody here would deny that. Rim defense, very high portability, etc., etc. And so Jalen Duren, I feel like Jalen Duren has the potential to maybe be the center of a championship team if utilized right and if he gets to the peak of this kind of player archetype that he is. And so I would love to see the development for a lot of these guys. Obviously, Ron Holland, I don't really see it with him either. I mean, he could be good, but at the same time, he's not giving me a lot to work off right now. And then you got enforcer types like Isaiah Stewart, who's still only 24. So, in turn, I would say the Pistons, they have a good outlook. I feel